the Morgan silver dollar, one of the most recognizable and circulated coins in the history of the US Mint. But why is it that some of them are worth $70 a piece and others worth up to potentially even $1 million at the very, very top end? At the time of filming this, silver just now hit an all-time high, just now breaking the $100 mark, which is a truly monumentous achievement for all of silver and really numismatists worldwide, as this is definitely changing the landscape for coins and collectability. Today we are going to go through what makes a Morgan silver dollar valuable and what you need to know if you own, are considering owning, or even looking at selling Morgan silver dollars. We'll first start with condition. In a lot of coins, and especially the Morgan silver dollar not being an exception, condition is everything. And this condition goes from a range of 1, a P1 being very poor, all the way up to an MS70, which is considered US Mint. That is the most perfect coin that you can have. Now, anything between the range of the P1 all the way up to an EF45 is considered a circulated coin. Once we start to get around the 50 and above, that is when you start to hear the term an uncirculated coin. Now, if we look at these Morgans right here, this is obviously an extremely circulated, extremely worn coin. This is definitely going to be probably definitely less than a 3 grading. So an FR2 or potentially even a P1 more than likely on this one. This Morgan is certainly a lot nicer, definitely not the nicest Morgan you're ever going to see, as there definitely is still some wear on the line. So this is still probably a circulated Morgan, but definitely a much higher grade than what we had just seen with this Morgan right here. Yeah, as you can definitely see, the breast feathers are a little bit dull. That's a really good thing to look at, and also the hairlines, there's definitely some dullness there. You can see it decently well in the camera, but this is probably going to be a high-level circulated coin, probably not quite to that uncirculated level yet. For many of these Morgan silver dollars, condition is nearly everything. If you get a high-graded uncirculated coin, that will definitely bolster the value for these Morgan silver dollars, and we will talk about all of that in greater detail as we go a little bit further. The next thing you really need to look at is the mint that your Morgan was made. So if you look underneath the tail feathers on the bottom of the Morgan, you'll see the mint. And I'll flash a picture up of this as well, just so you can see it a little bit better. So in this Morgan right here, there's no indications there, which no indication is also the same thing as an indication. So if there's nothing there, that means it's a P or from the Philadelphia Mint. We're also looking for an S for San Francisco, an O for New Orleans, a double C, a CC for Carson City, or a D for Denver. Now, all of these mints mean different things, and depending on the year of the coin, that's going to greatly impact the value that the Morgans have. In general, the Carson City is considered probably the most valuable mint, as there were definitely fewer done there, and definitely one that in general, if you have a Carson City, is going to increase the value of the coin, just kind of as a general rule of thumb. Next, we are going to look at the year. That, in unison with the mint, is really important for helping us understand the scarcity of that specific Morgan and year that it was in. So, the Morgan was minted between 1878 and 1904. They then took a gap and didn't make the Morgan again until 1921. So this is actually a first-year Morgan. You can just barely see that year of the 1878. So that was the first year the Morgan was minted. And I can't even tell what the mint is on this coin. It's just so wore. It could be a P, but it could be completely rubbed off. When looking for the Mount Rushmore coins, the ones that if you have are almost certainly going to be pretty valuable, one of the widely considered holy grails for Morgan silver dollars is the 1895 proof. Now, obviously, none of those are here, and you don't see, the year would be right here, the 1895. Another big one is the 1893S, so that would say 1893 with an S right here, followed by the 1889 Carson City, the 1893 O, and the 1892S. Now, all of these can be looked up what your specific Morgan is worth, but it's important to know how to distinguish them. We're now going to look at how the Morgan silver dollar is changing in this current environment that we're in, what we expect, and things that you need to be on the lookout for and understand. When the Morgan silver dollars were initially minted, there was approximately 650 to 660 million Morgan silver dollars minted. However, that was whenever they were first minted. We are down to less than 25% of that expected out there in the world today. And there's several reasons for that. For one, the Pittman Act. That was one that allowed the melting of Morgan silver dollars and melted almost 300 million Morgan silver dollars. And that was passed in 1918. In addition to that, melting for just silver value has been increasingly common, especially as we see Morgans reaching the $100 mark. You know, each one of these Morgans has approximately 0.773 troy ounces of silver. So if silver's breaking $100 an ounce, you know, you're at about $80 just in the silver value alone, which the silver value being on such a rise that it is, it's greatly reducing the numismatic value of the coins. It used to be for years that Morgans would have a premium, a little bit more so as silver was a lot cheaper. However, now with silver prices going up, a lot of these Morgans are really just worth their weight in silver, and that's kind of about it at this time right now. However, that is definitely not for all Morgans. Grades and years and mints are all still extremely important to look at. I expect as this continues, and especially with high silver costs, a lot of the additional available Morgans are likely going to get repurposed just for their silver and refined down. I think that this could greatly change the way that we look at Morgan silver dollars, and I think it could have a lot of impact on long-term collectability and really the coin market as a whole, as these coins are only going to become more and more scarce, especially for the high grade and the more valuable sought after mints and years. It is expected that there's about 120 million expected or approximated Morgans left in existence, with only about 5 to 10 million of those coming at the uncirculated condition. So uncirculated Morgans are just becoming more and more scarce and rare, especially as time goes on. Now I want to show you one more thing that is really important if you're considering buying Morgans for their silver value, for stacking them for their silver value, or selling them. One thing you need to know, so each Morgan should have about 0.773 troy ounces of silver. However, that assumes that the Morgan weighs approximately just under 27 grams. And what I want to show you here is that not all Morgans have the same silver content. And while that sounds crazy, I'll show you. So each of these Morgans should have been minted with the exact same amount of silver, approximately 0.773 troy ounces of silver within them, each being about 90% silver. However, the circulation on this one being so worn down does actually greatly impact the silver contents in the coin, and I want to show you that. And while it's not huge, it definitely has a large impact when you look at the scale of if you're buying multiple of these. So Morgan should weigh roughly 27 grams. And you see that one's pretty close to your 27 grams there. Here, I'll show you the coin on there. Oh, now I moved it in it. Yeah, there we go. Okay, 26 grams. And that's about right. Morgans should weigh about 26 to 27 grams, just slightly closer to 27. But then this one, when you weigh this Morgan, you see about 25 grams. So certainly a lot less. And while that might not be a ginormous difference, when you scale this over multiple Morgans that you might be purchasing for their silver or looking to sell them, it's definitely something you need to know and need to understand, especially if you're working in large quantities of Morgans. Well, hey, if you're still here, appreciate you sticking with me for the entire video. I hope you found this helpful. I'm a long-term coin enthusiast, numismatist, so this is certainly a very exciting and kind of crazy time. But definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I love talking all things coins. Thanks.